The Goat House is back with score predictions and picks against the spread for every single divisional round playoff game. Only 4 to get through. Got some sneaky bets along the way. Let's take a look at what I got. Starting with the Texans and the Chiefs. I was rolling with the Texans last week against the Chargers. They got the job done. I can't do it this week, though, in Kansas City. The Chiefs are off the bye. They got really hot at the end of the year as they got a little healthier. So many weapons to account for. Yes, the Texans have an elite pass rush duo, elite cornerback duo, but I don't think it's enough. In the middle of the field is where the Chiefs are going to target and have some success. Just too many weapons to account for. And their defense is so well coached. It's such a solid defense. And the Texans, Tank Dell was going off against them because they were so focused on Nico Collins. And then once he got injured, it was kind of a wrap for the Texans. The Chiefs had them figured out. Just, double up, bracket Nico Collins. And it's pretty much the ball game. So I do think they'll do something similar there, and they'll slow down the Texans' offense. Texans got to be a little more consistent. CJ Stroud's got to be a little bit more consistent on offense, and they started slow against the Chargers. The Chiefs are just a different animal, so give me Kansas City. But, man, when you have a pass rush in a corner group like the Texans have, D'Amico Ryan, such a good defensive game planner and play caller, if you have all those things, you have a shot against anybody. It's just a tough matchup in Kansas City with the limited receivers that they have. I would take the Chiefs minus 8.5. I'm not going to sit here and say it's an absolute lock because actually the Chiefs this year, when favored by 7 or more, they have not covered once. But there was a stretch of the season where they weren't really that good, believe it or not. I know a lot of you know that already, but even though the record was really good, they got so good down the stretch of the season. Again, they're well rested. I think they should handle business in this one, win by, 10 or more points. But I do like DeAndre Hopkins against his former team getting over 28.5 receiving yards. Former team, definitely a solid weapon still. He can hit that in one catch. And I think, chances are he doesn't do it in one catch, but he can. And chances are he gets more than one catch as well. He's going to get 2, 3, 4, 5 catches, and he should hit that. So that was a prop that stood out right now. Commanders at Lions definitely could be a shootout. The over-under was 54.5, and I was kind of liking that over. It's at 55.5 going up. So, as you could tell, I still kind of like it. I just wish it was still sitting at 54.5. But I like the Lions in this one. 34-24, shootout here. I think the Lions are pretty much a lock to score a lot of points, somewhere around this range here. The Commanders' defense, pretty predictable. It's decent, pretty predictable. You can beat it, especially on the ground. They cannot stop the run. The Lions are very good running the football. They get David Montgomery back. I think they should limit him, but that's okay. Jahmyr Gibbs should dice up the Commanders on the ground. And the Lions' passing game will have success. Goff will be just fine. There's nothing that is presented to them that's going to throw them off their game or disrupt anything, at least in my opinion. So the Lions are pretty, they get healthier too. They got that break. They're a pretty good bet to score a lot of points in this game. The Commanders could keep up, though. It's definitely possible they score a lot because the Lions are still beat up on defense. They run a lot of predictable man coverage. Both these teams actually do. But that's really not a good mixture when you run that much man coverage. You're not the greatest defense in the world because you're beat up going against a very solid scrambling quarterback that you do have to respect in the passing game as well in Jaden Daniels. So I think he runs very well. He scrambles very well in this game. I think both teams will attempt to control the clock, but I think they'll both have so many explosive plays, mainly the Lions, that they'll be still scoring a lot of points. So there is that threat of, because both teams will try to just, control the clock, the Lions with the running game against the Commanders' soft run defense, and the Commanders knowing the Lions can score at any time. So, hey, when we have these possessions, we got to make them last. So that is a reason it could be a little less scoring than expected. I'm just still expecting, again, so many explosive plays here. But if you look back at the Bucs-Commanders game, the Bucs were able to move the ball fairly easy, especially down the stretch. The score won't show that. The Commanders clutched up and won that game. Obviously creating that turnover late. Well, the Bucs kind of created it, to be honest. But so the Lions will capitalize, unlike the Bucs did. They will capitalize, score points. So I'm confident with them winning by a decent amount. That line keeps going up. I think Vegas knows people are betting on the Lions. Vegas knows something that the Lions should be able to handle business in here. My favorite bet on this one is Jaden Daniels scoring a touchdown. So obviously it'd have to be a rushing touchdown. It's plus 155. Some really good odds there. My favorite bets this year is just single leg plus odds touchdown picks. They've been working out this year. That's a pretty good one. I mean, of course, there's a chance that he doesn't score, but given the Lions' amount of man coverage and given Daniel's scrambling ability, I think he can run one in there. We hit on Terry McLaurin scoring last week. He very well could score again, too. It's pretty good odds on him as well. But I like that one. I like Gibbs to run for a lot. How much they use Montgomery is kind of the question. I think Terry McLaurin's got some good props. We always go over my favorite bets, any parlays that I have on Twitter leading up to game time. I'll have some good ones for this game that I already feel kind of good about. But we'll let the week play out what I usually do. But I do like, throw a couple bucks on Daniel scoring a touchdown. Why not? But Lions offense, too much. Well rested. They win 34-24. Rams at Eagles. I have the Eagles winning 23-20. So I do think it could be a closer game here. I think the biggest key factor in Philly, in the cold, for those LA boys over there. But Eagles defense is something else. We've seen it all year. We saw it last week against the Packers. There were times where the Packers were kind of moving the ball fairly easy, but the Eagles just shut them down, created turnover, whatever it was. You expect a little bit more from the Eagles offense last week, so hopefully they kind of figured things out. Again, Hurts shaking off the rust last week. Barkley went off against the Rams last time, so of course that could happen again. They can score a lot more points. It's certainly possible. The Rams defense is playing a lot better now. I think they'll make adjustments for that. I still think Barkley has a day. I think he'll go over 100 yards. But 255 last time, you're asking for, he could do it again, but you're asking for too much if you think for him to get even close to that amount of yards. So if you drop that number down a little bit, it becomes a little bit closer of a game, because remember the Eagles pulled away last time once Barkley started to do that. But I do think Barkley is a major factor. I think Dallas Goedert's a major factor. The Rams, again, the defense got better as the year went on, but they struggled more and more specifically against tight ends, and Goddard went beast mode last week. So that is a key factor. Goddard is a key factor along with Saquon Barkley. Hurts got to play a little bit better. He's kind of struggled this year against zone coverage. He's torn up man. The Rams ran man last week for the matchup against the Vikings, but they're more of a zone team, so that's something to watch as well. And for the Rams, again, Eagles defense is so good, but the Rams offense, led by very smart guys like Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay, they can figure it out. It's all about the game plan in the playoffs. Maybe they figure out that sneaky game plan for a really good defense here, and maybe this ends up being more offense than expected. Eagles do stop the run at a very high level, so I don't know if Kyron Williams, in that running game alone could win this game, even though they have potential to do that. We see that over the years, over this year, but I'll take the Eagles at home. It's the home field advantage in the cold. If this was in LA, the Eagles have been the better team this year. Remember, the Rams were so beat up earlier in the year. They probably would have around the same record if they weren't. I think they're closer than what people think. If this was in LA, I think the Rams would probably win around the same score, possibly just flipped. But in Philly, with Saquon Barkley, Dallas Goedert a key, and how good that defense is playing, I will take the Eagles in a close game. The more I'm talking, the more I'm thinking, could this be a little bit more? Could there be a little bit more scoring? Could it be a 26-23, somewhere around that range? But my favorite bet is Dallas Goedert. I was feeling him last week. He did well. Again, the Rams are struggling against tight ends. I was all over Hawkinson props that were plus odds, and the Vikings were awful, but Hawkinson was great. So I think Goddard, who Hurts really likes in the playoffs, you look at in the past couple years, I think he plays a major role. At least he should in this one. So give me him over 3.5 receptions. That one looks pretty good right now. And the main event, Sunday Night Football, a game that is a coin flip, really. Ravens versus the Bills. And I'm usually a matchup guy. The matchup favors the Ravens because the Bills' really only weakness is stopping the run. The Ravens are the best in football at doing that, or them and the Eagles, the Lions are all up there. So the Ravens could win because of that. And that's what they showed during the year. I did pick the Ravens during the year when everyone was picking the Bills, but this time my gut is telling me Buffalo. This game, we're going to know who's going to win this game pretty early in this one, I believe. The Ravens come out, pounding the football, controlling the clock, and getting a lead, getting a 2-score lead. It's probably over. The Ravens are probably going to win. If the Bills jump out to a 2-score lead and just start off early, they may eliminate some of the Ravens' run, and then they'll win the game. We've seen that from the Bills this year. Teams they're playing against good rushing teams, and they're running well on them, but the Bills just getting this lead because they're so explosive on offense, and then the team really can't do anything about it, and they can't really come back while running the football. So I think how these teams come out will determine this game, and it's obviously a big one. My gut feeling is Josh Allen does just enough in this one, maybe playing a little bit pissed off because he's being doubted a little bit. Everyone's all over Lamar, as they should be. They should be both, all over both these guys. So I think the Bills have some tricks up their sleeve too. They kind of saved Kincaid throughout this year. And he's missed some games. I think he'll be more of a factor in this one. And then all of a sudden, Curtis Samuel's going off last week. So they make you game plan. It makes it a tough game plan. They make you think a little bit more here. They have multiple backs that can catch the ball. Derrick Henry could beat the Bills alone. He typically does. Lamar Jackson could beat him alone with his legs alone. And then you factor in the passing game. How healthy is Zay Flowers? That's a bit of a question. So nobody really knows how these teams will start. Sometimes it's weird. How teams start, some fluky things happen, or, so it's just that's what's going to decide this game. But my gut's telling me Buffalo. In Buffalo, this is one home field advantage. If it was in Baltimore, I would go with the Ravens in this one. But Ravens are favored by 1.5. Could go either way. Could take the Bills money line. 27-24 is what I have. I'm watching for the Ravens defense in this one. I know the Ravens can move the ball. I know both these offenses can move the ball in the opposing defense. For the Ravens, the key is being in the game, because if you're not in the game, it might be tough to move the ball. We kind of seen vice versa last time, but the Ravens defense has gotten a lot better as the year went on. But to me, I still think I think it's a very good defense. I still think you can move the ball on them. We saw Steelers have some splash plays. Ravens did have a big lead. But can the Bills figure it out? I feel like they have more weapons than people realize here. So that's something I'm watching too. How does the Ravens defense hold up? I mean, if it continues to play like it's kind of been playing, like great, they're going to win this game. So that's also a big factor. 27-24 Bills would have my favorite bet. Go another plus odds touchdown. Josh Allen, he didn't score last week. He comes out in the most important times. He runs it in the end zone, whether it's on the goal line or a little bit further out in the most important games when the game is on the line. So I would imagine, and the Ravens stop your traditional run at the running backs, right? James Cook's been going off, and they'll slow him down. So I think Josh Allen gets in the end zone. Again, I'm kind of been waiting for Dalton Kincaid to really break out and be more of that receiving threat, because he's really more of a big receiver. Could this be that game as well? But again, if the Ravens stay in the game, Derrick Henry's going to run very well, very successfully. Lamar Jackson as well. So it's going to be a really fun game, the game of the year up to this point. Ravens-Bills, cannot wait. But that's the picks. It's weird that it's just 4 games long here. So let me know your guys' thoughts, your predictions in the comments. We'll have our locks videos, more bets you can take on Twitter/X. We have more props, more parlays, more touchdown picks. Been doing very well this year. So make sure to follow us there. We have a bunch of playoff and off-season videos on the channel covering coaches, and more of that to come. We're going to take a deeper look into free agency, the draft. We're going to try to jump on. Well, we've already done mock drafts. We're going to try to jump on more draft content earlier than normal. Already planning on ranking the running back class pretty early in the offseason compared to what we normally do, because I'm already kind of through tape on the running backs. I do want to see that national championship game, though. Ohio State has some draft-eligible guys. But, that'll do it for this one. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.